Let's get back to the Gospel of Luke. There were certain women who had followed Jesus, and they went and they saw where and how they buried him. He goes into the tomb on a Friday, and then on the Sabbath day they rest. It's now the third day. It's Sunday morning. It's early dawn, and the women who had seen where he was buried had prepared spices to go out to put on Jesus' body as a kind of act to show their love and adoration toward their crucified master. The authorities had placed a stone over the opening to the tomb so that no one could get in. But as the women approach, they begin to see that the stone has been rolled away. They enter in. The body of Jesus isn't there anymore. They're confused. They're perplexed at what's happening. But then they turn and they look, and suddenly they see two men standing by them in shining clothes. They don't know what to do. They're scared. They bow their heads to these men, and then the men ask a question. Luke 24, verse 5. Why do you seek the living among the dead? He is not here, but has risen. Remember how he told you while he was still in Galilee that the Son of Man must be delivered into the hands of sinful men and be crucified, and on the third day rise. And they remembered his words. The women go back and tell the 11 disciples what has happened. Luke 24:11, but these words seemed to them an idle tale, and they did not believe them. Would you have believed if you knew that your master had just been hung publicly on a cross and had been executed? Would you really believe if some women came and told you that he was alive? But Peter wanted to see for himself, so he runs to the tomb. He sees that it's empty. Only the linen cloths that had covered Jesus were there. Peter marvels at what he's seeing. Then Luke tells us, Luke 24, verse 13, that very day, two of them were going to a village named Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem. They're talking with each other about all these things that had happened. And while they were talking and discussing together, Jesus himself drew near to these two guys and went with them. But their eyes were kept from recognizing him. And he said to them, what is this conversation that you're holding with each other as you walk? They stood still, looking sad. One of them, named Cleopas, answered him, are you the only visitor to Jerusalem who doesn't know the things that have happened there in these days? He said to them, what things? They said to him, concerning Jesus of Nazareth, a man who was a prophet, mighty in deed and word, before God and all the people, how our chief priests and rulers delivered him up to be condemned to death and crucified him. We had hoped he was the one to redeem Israel. And yes, beside all this, it's now the third day since these things happened. Moreover, some women of our company amazed us. They were at the tomb early in the morning, and when they didn't find his body, they came back saying they had even seen a vision of angels who said he was alive. Some of us, those who are with us, went to the tomb, found it just as the women had said, but they didn't see him. And Jesus said to them, O foolish ones, slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have spoken. Was it not necessary that the Christ should suffer these things and enter into his glory? And beginning with Moses and all the prophets, Jesus interpreted to them in all the scriptures the things concerning himself. So they drew near to the village to which they were going, and he acted as if he were going farther. But they urged him strongly, saying, stay with us, it's evening. It's toward evening, the day's far spent. So he goes in and he spends time with them. And when he was at the table with them, he took the bread and he blessed it and he broke it and he gave it to them. And then their eyes were opened and they recognized him. And then he vanished from their sight, and they said to each other, did not our hearts burn within us while he talked to us on the road, while he opened to us the scriptures? Shortly after this, the 11 are gathered together talking about what's happening, not being able to process it. And suddenly Jesus is standing in the middle of them. Luke 24:37, but they were startled and frightened and thought they saw a spirit. And he said to them, why are you troubled? Why do doubts arise in your hearts? See my hands and my feet. It is I myself. Touch me and see. A spirit does not have flesh and bones as you see that I have. And when he had said this, he showed them his hands and his feet. And then he takes some food and he eats it. Why does he eat? Why does Luke think we need to know that he ate some fish with the 11? What is he getting at? How do we really know? that Jesus is the one promised. Everything comes down to what happens to him after the cross. Does he stay in the tomb or not? And the answer is no. Why do you seek the living among the dead? He is not here, he is risen. Jesus is alive. Jesus physically comes back to life. Consider why he would say, look at my hands and my feet. Touch me. Why would Luke tell us he ate fish? What is the point? It's to show you that this is real. It is not a made-up story. In history, Jesus of Nazareth died a bloody death. But in history, Jesus of Nazareth rose again bodily. He is risen. He is risen indeed. Jesus' followers needed to know it, so he showed himself to them. He proved that he was alive by many infallible proofs, and we need to know that Jesus of Nazareth is alive. If Jesus is not alive, if he is not risen, then you should not listen to any of this series. I apologize for all of it that you've listened to. If he is not risen, you should never open up the scriptures, never go to a church. Everything is fake. If he is not risen, you should live a different life than the life Jesus puts in front of you. You should go and sin and have the pleasures of this world. Christianity is a miserable and pitiful man-made fake religion if Jesus is not alive. If Jesus is dead, change your faith. Go follow another religion with its dead prophets and dead gods. Or better yet, don't follow any religion. Just be your own God if Jesus is not risen. Don't listen for another moment if Jesus is dead. Because it all comes down to that. Christianity is nothing apart from the resurrection. But if Jesus is alive, if he really is risen, it changes everything. You need to do something with him. You need to get behind him. You need to follow him. Follow him where? Follow him wherever he wants you to go. To do what? Whatever he wants you to do. Because you can know with absolute certainty that if he is risen from the dead, he is who he said he is. He is the one who can conquer sin and death. He is the one who can crush the serpent's head. If he is alive, then take up your cross and follow him, because he is Lord, he is Messiah, he is King. And even if picking up your cross leads you to your death, if he has the power of death over death, he can have the power over your death too. The resurrection is the ultimate proof that Jesus is who he says he is, and that he did what he claimed he could do. You see, it turns out that through the cross, the serpent bruised only the heel of Jesus. But through that same cross, Jesus crushes the serpent's head.